I had waited so long to tell her how I felt. Was I too late? I love you, Lucy. I've loved you for years, and I don't want to spend another moment without you knowing that. No more second-guessing. No more waiting. Just love. That Valentine's Day, under the soft glow of cafe lights, Lucy and I found what we had been searching for all along: each other. Welcome to English Tone, the place where learning English feels like a heartfelt journey through stories. Here, we bring you simple, emotional, and engaging stories that not only improve your English but also touch your heart. Today, we have a special love story that will take you on a roller coaster of emotions. A story of missed chances, heartbreaking confessions, and a love that was always meant to be. Valentine's Day had always been a day of love, a day where people expressed their deepest emotions, a day when the air itself seemed to be filled with warmth and anticipation. But for me, this Valentine's Day was different. It wasn't just another celebration of love. It was the day I had chosen to lay my heart bare in front of the one person who meant the world to me, Lucy. My name is Alex, a 25-year-old who had spent years hiding a truth that burned inside me every single day. Lucy wasn't just my best friend. She was the one who made my life brighter, who understood me in ways no one else could. We had been inseparable since college, sharing our joys, our failures, our little inside jokes that only we understood. But for all the moments we had spent together, there was one thing I had never dared to say aloud. I loved her, truly and deeply. For years, I had kept my feelings buried beneath layers of fear. What if she didn't feel the same? What if confessing my love ruined everything we had? I had seen friendships crumble under the weight of unspoken confessions, and I couldn't bear the thought of losing Lucy. So, I stayed silent, convincing myself that her presence in my life, even as just a friend, was enough. But deep down it wasn't. Every time I saw her smile, every time she laughed at my stupid jokes, every time she leaned on me for support, I wished for more. It had taken weeks of planning, countless sleepless nights spent going over every possible scenario in my head. But I had finally made up my mind. Today was the day. I was going to tell Lucy how I felt, and I was going to do it in the most special way possible. No more hiding. No more pretending that I was okay with being just her friend. I had planned everything down to the smallest detail. A rooftop dinner under the stars, surrounded by soft candlelight, the city lights shimmering in the distance. A bouquet of her favorite roses, white and pink, because she once told me they symbolized pure and gentle love. A playlist of songs that we had listened to together over the years, the ones that held memories only the two of us shared. And, of course, the ring. It wasn't an extravagant diamond ring, but it was meaningful. A delicate silver band with a small sapphire, her birthstone. It wasn't just a proposal of love. It was a promise that I had always been, and always would be, by her side. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, my excitement was laced with an overwhelming sense of anxiety. What if she said no? I had spent years convincing myself that Lucy could never see me as more than a friend. Sure, we were close, closer than most, but she had never given me a sign, never hinted at feeling anything beyond friendship. I had rehearsed my confession 100 times in my head, trying to find the right words, the perfect way to tell her how much she meant to me. Lucy, I've been in love with you for years. You're my best friend, my favorite person, the one who makes my world brighter. I don't want to just be your friend anymore. I want to be the one who holds your hand when you're scared, the one who celebrates your victories, the one who loves you for the rest of my life. Will you be mine? Even as I repeated the words in my head, doubt gnawed at me. Would she be surprised? Would she be happy? Or would she look at me with pity, struggling to find the right words to let me down gently? I shook my head, pushing the negative thoughts away. No, I had come too far to back out now. Whatever her answer was, at least I would know. At least I wouldn't have to live with the regret of never telling her how I felt. The restaurant had set everything up just as I had envisioned. The candles flickered softly. The soft strumming of a guitar played in the background. The scent of roses filled the air. It was perfect. I glanced at my watch, 6:30 p.m. Lucy would be here in half an hour. My heart pounded in my chest as I paced back and forth, my hands clammy, my breath uneven. This was it. This was the moment I had waited for. And then my phone buzzed. A message from Lucy. My fingers trembled as I unlocked my phone, my pulse quickening as I read her text. Alex, I need to talk to you. It's important. Meet me at the coffee shop instead. I froze. My mind spiraled into chaos. Why did she suddenly want to meet at the coffee shop? Was something wrong? Had she found out about my plans? Did she already know how I felt and want to stop me before I could confess? My stomach churned as 1,000 possibilities flooded my mind. My carefully laid out plans, my dream of a perfect proposal, it was all unraveling before my eyes. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my thoughts. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. I had envisioned a night filled with laughter, love, and a magical proposal. Instead, I was heading toward an unknown conversation that could change everything. But no matter how terrified I was, I had no choice. I had to go. I had to find out what Lucy wanted to say. With a deep breath, I grabbed my jacket and rushed out the door, my heart pounding harder than ever. As I stepped into the cold night air, a new kind of fear gripped me. Was this the beginning of something beautiful, or the end of everything I had ever hoped for? The evening had arrived, and the anticipation in my heart felt like an unrelenting storm. I sat at the restaurant, the dim candlelight flickering against the polished wood of the table I had carefully reserved weeks ago. The gentle hum of romantic music played in the background, and a waiter walked past, setting up the final touches. A bouquet of red roses, a bottle of Lucy's favorite wine, and a velvet box holding the ring that would change everything. Tonight was supposed to be perfect. Lucy had no idea what was coming. I had only told her, "I have a surprise for you tonight." She had laughed in that sweet way she always did and replied, "You always do, Alex." Those words had echoed in my mind all day, fueling my nervous excitement. I glanced at my watch, 6:45 p.m. She was supposed to be here at 7. I could already imagine the way her eyes would light up when she saw the setup, the way she would cover her mouth in surprise, and maybe, just maybe, the way she would look at me when I finally confessed my love. But then my phone buzzed. It was Lucy. "Alex, I need to talk to you. It's important. Meet me at the coffee shop instead." I read the message twice, then a third time, hoping I had misunderstood. But no, the words remained the same. My fingers gripped the phone tightly as a sudden wave of unease crashed over me. Why did she sound serious? The air around me grew heavy, suffocating. This wasn't part of my plan. I had imagined a night of romance, of laughter, of a life-changing proposal. Not this. 100 different thoughts raced through my mind. Was she in trouble? Had something happened at work? Or worse, was she about to tell me something that would shatter everything I had built in my heart? The possibility that she had met someone else slashed through me like a cold blade. I shook my head, trying to clear the paranoia. No, this was Lucy. My Lucy. The girl who shared my love for old books, who laughed at my terrible jokes, who trusted me with her dreams. But then, why did this feel so wrong? I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. The ring box in my pocket felt heavier now, as if it carried not just a proposal, but a question I wasn't sure I wanted the answer to. I texted back, "Of course. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Sliding the box into my jacket, I stood up, gave the waiter a brief nod, and walked out of the restaurant. The night air was crisp, wrapping around me like a cold embrace. My feet carried me to the coffee shop, but my mind was drowning in uncertainty. As I approached, I saw her through the window. She sat at our usual table, her hands wrapped around a cup of coffee, her eyes staring blankly into the distance. My stomach twisted into knots. Something was definitely wrong. I stepped inside, the warmth of the shop doing nothing to ease my nerves. The bell above the door chimed, and Lucy looked up. When our eyes met, she smiled, but it wasn't the bright, carefree smile I knew. It was hesitant, careful. "Hey," she said softly as I slid into the seat across from her. "Hey," I replied, forcing a smile. "You okay?" Your message sounded serious. She exhaled slowly, looking down at her cup. "Yeah, I needed to talk to you before tonight. Before whatever you had planned." A lump formed in my throat. "Okay, I'm listening." She hesitated, then met my gaze. "Alex, there's something I've been meaning to tell you for a while, and I don't know how to say it without hurting you." The lump in my throat grew bigger. My heartbeat pounded against my ribs. This wasn't happening. "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She took a deep breath. I got a job offer. In Paris." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. My vision blurred for a second. Paris. Across the ocean. Miles away from here. From me. "Oh," was all I could manage. "I didn't know how to tell you," she continued, her voice pained. "I found out last week, and I've been debating what to do. But, Alex, it's an amazing opportunity. It's everything I've ever dreamed of. Dreams. The same dreams we had talked about countless times. But in those dreams, we were always together." I swallowed hard, trying to push down the rising panic. "When do you leave?" "In a month." "A month." 30 days. That was all the time I had before she was gone. Before my chance to confess my love disappeared. My fingers brushed against the box in my pocket, and for the first time tonight, I had doubted everything. Was this still the right moment? Or was it already too late? Lucy reached across the table, placing her hand over mine. "Alex, you're my best friend, and I don't want this to change anything between us." Best friend. The words stung more than they should have. I forced a smile, though my heart was shattering. Of course, nothing changes, but deep down, I knew that everything had already changed. The moment stretched between us, heavy and filled with words left unsaid. The proposal, the perfect night I had planned, now seemed like a distant dream. And yet, as I looked into Lucy's eyes, I realized I still had a choice. I could walk away, pretend my feelings didn't exist, or I could tell her the truth before it was too late. I took a deep breath, knowing that the next words out of my mouth would change everything. I rushed to the coffee shop, my heart hammering against my ribs as the cold February air bit at my skin. The message from Lucy had shattered my perfectly crafted evening, leaving me with a gnawing sense of dread. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. I was supposed to surprise her, to tell her how I felt, to see her face light up with joy. But now, she had something important to say. As I stepped inside the warm, softly lit café, my eyes searched for her. And there she was, sitting by the window, her fingers wrapped tightly around a cup of coffee, as if drawing warmth from it. Her long brown hair cascaded over her shoulders, slightly messy, like she had been running her fingers through it in thought. But it was her eyes that caught me off guard. They weren't the usual bright, playful eyes I had known for years. They were distant, troubled. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to approach. "Hey, Lucy." She looked up at me and smiled, but it wasn't her usual smile. It was small, hesitant, like she was afraid of what she was about to say. "Hey, Alex," she said softly, her voice barely carrying over the gentle hum of the cafe. I pulled out the chair opposite hers and sat down. my fingers gripping the edge of the table. "What's wrong?" Your message sounded serious. She exhaled, her breath shaky, and began tracing patterns on the rim of her coffee cup. "I need to tell you something," she murmured. A lump formed in my throat. "Go ahead," I said, though every fiber of my being wanted to run away from whatever was coming next. She glanced at me, then looked away, playing with the silver ring on her finger, a habit she had when she was nervous. My heart pounded. This was bad. Really bad. "I think—" she started, then stopped, shaking her head slightly, as if trying to gather her thoughts. "Lucy, just say it," I urged, my voice more desperate than I intended. She sighed, her hands tightening around the cup. "I think I'm falling for someone." Time stopped. The sounds of the café faded, the clinking of cups, the soft chatter of people, the indie song playing in the background. It all disappeared. All I could hear was the pounding in my chest. Falling for someone. Someone. Not me. I forced myself to swallow, to keep my voice steady. "Oh." It was all I could manage. She lifted her eyes to me, her gaze filled with uncertainty. "Alex, She hesitated, as if she wasn't sure whether to continue. I gripped the edge of the table tighter, trying to steady myself. "Who is it, Lucy?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked down at her coffee, staring into the dark liquid as if it held all the answers. My mind was in chaos. Had she met someone new? Had I waited too long? I had been planning to confess my feelings tonight. And now she was telling me she was falling for someone else? My hands trembled under the table, but I clenched them into fists, trying to stay composed. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she spoke. "It's someone who has always been there for me," she said, her voice softer now. "Someone who makes me laugh, who knows me better than I know myself." My stomach twisted painfully. I had spent years being that person for her, always hoping, always waiting for the right moment to tell her how I felt. But now it was too late. She took a deep breath and finally looked up, her eyes locking onto mine. "Alex, it's you?" For a moment, I thought I had misheard her. The world seemed to blur, my heart pounding so loudly that I barely registered the words she had just spoken. "It's you. It's me?" A million thoughts raced through my head, disbelief crashing over me like a tidal wave. Had she really just said what I thought she said? After all these years, all this waiting, had she felt the same way all along? "Lucy," I breathed, my voice unsteady. Are you serious?" She gave a nervous laugh, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "I know I probably should have told you sooner, but I was scared. I didn't want to risk losing you, Alex." My chest tightened as relief, joy, and disbelief warred within me. I don't know what to say." She bit her lip, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. "I know this is sudden, and maybe I ruined whatever surprise you had planned for tonight. But I needed to tell you." I shook my head, a slow smile spreading across my lips. "Lucy, you didn't ruin anything." For the first time that night, I felt like I could finally breathe. And just like that, everything changed. For a moment, I just stared at her, my mind unable to fully process what I had just heard. Everything I had feared in the past hour, the idea of losing her, of being too late, of watching her fall for someone else, vanished in an instant. It was replaced by a rush of emotions so overwhelming that I could barely breathe. My heart, which had been drowning in fear, suddenly soared. "Me?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, as if I needed to hear it again just to believe it. Lucy bit her lip, her fingers tightening around her coffee cup. She nodded, eyes glistening with something that looked like both hope and nervousness. "Yes, Alex. You." The words settled into my chest like a puzzle piece finally falling into place. I had imagined this moment 1,000 times, but not like this. I had pictured a grand confession, me pouring my heart out to her under the soft glow of candlelight, not a conversation in a quiet coffee shop where the air was thick with unspoken words. And yet, somehow, this felt even more perfect. I was afraid to say anything. Lucy continued, her voice softer now. I thought maybe you didn't feel the same, that I was just imagining things. But today I couldn't hold it in anymore. She let out a shaky breath, her fingers playing with the edge of her sleeve. I had to tell you, Alex, no matter what. I felt a strange, almost ridiculous urge to laugh. A mix of relief, joy, and sheer disbelief. All these years, we had been dancing around something so obvious. How many times had I convinced myself that she saw me only as her best friend? How many times had I told myself that she deserved someone better? And all this time, she had been afraid of the same things? Lucy, I said, running a hand through my hair. This is insane. She blinked, her expression immediately shifting to worry. What? I let out a breathless laugh. Because I was supposed to be the one confessing today. I reached into my pocket, feeling the small velvet box I had carried with me all evening, my fingers closing around it. I had this whole evening planned, but I guess life had a better plan for us. Her eyes widened as I pulled out the box, the soft lighting of the café catching the deep red of the velvet. The breath she took was sharp, her fingers going still against her cup. Alex, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I opened the box, revealing the simple but elegant ring inside. It wasn't an extravagant piece, nothing flashy or overwhelming. Just something I had picked because I knew it suited her. She never liked grand gestures or overly dramatic displays of affection. She valued meaning over luxury. And this ring, a delicate silver band with a small, beautiful sapphire, was my way of telling her that I saw her, that I knew her, that I loved her. Lucy, I said, my voice steady despite the overwhelming emotions tightening in my chest. I love you. I've loved you for years, and I don't want to spend another moment without you knowing that. I exhaled, feeling the weight of every unspoken word finally being lifted. Will you be mine? Today, tomorrow, and forever? Her hand flew to her mouth, eyes shining with unshed tears. She looked at me, then at the ring, then back at me again, as if trying to decide whether this moment was real or just some beautiful dream. She let out a breathless laugh, shaking her head in disbelief. You were going to propose? Not a proposal exactly, I admitted with a small grin. But a promise. A promise that I'll always be here. A promise that I will love you always. A tear slipped down her cheek, and she let out a small, choked laugh as she wiped it away. You idiot, she whispered, her voice trembling. You absolute idiot. That's fair, I chuckled. For a moment, she just stared at me, her lips parting as if she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Then, suddenly, she reached across the table, taking my hand in hers. Her fingers were cold, but her grip was firm, grounding. Yes, she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. My heart stuttered. What? She let out a soft laugh, shaking her head. Yes, Alex. I want that. I want you. Today, tomorrow, and forever. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. A slow smile stretched across my lips, and without thinking, I turned her hand over and slipped the ring on her finger. It wasn't an engagement, not yet, but it was something just as important. A start. She looked at the ring on her finger, her lips curving into a soft smile. I can't believe this is happening. Me neither, I admitted. For a moment, we just sat there, holding hands across the table, our coffee forgotten. The cafe around us continued to buzz with life. People talking, waiters moving, the faint sound of music playing in the background. But none of it mattered. Right now, in this moment, it was just us. Finally, Lucy broke the silence with a teasing smile. You know, this could have been a lot more romantic if you had just stuck to your original plan. I laughed. Well, excuse me for being ambushed by a confession before I could make mine. She rolled her eyes playfully, but squeezed my hand tighter. I guess we're both terrible at timing. Yeah, I agreed. But maybe that's what makes this perfect. She smiled, and this time, it was the bright, carefree smile I had always loved. Come on, I said, standing up and offering her my hand. Let's get out of here. I still owe you a proper date. She raised an eyebrow. Oh, and where are we going? I grinned. Somewhere better than a coffee shop for a moment like this. She laughed, taking my hand as she stood. Lead the way, Alex. As we walked out of the cafe hand in hand, I knew that nothing would ever be the same again. And for the first time in my life, that didn't scare me. Tears filled Lucy's eyes as she let out a shaky laugh. Yes, Alex. Of course, yes. For a second, I just stood there frozen as the words sank in. Yes. She had said yes. Then, before I could react, she threw her arms around me, holding me so tight that I could barely breathe, but I didn't care. I wrapped my arms around her, pulling her even closer, as if I were afraid that if I let go, this moment would disappear like a dream. This was everything I had ever wanted, everything I had ever wished for, and it was finally real. The cafe around us faded into the background. The quiet conversations, the soft clinking of cups, the distant laughter of strangers, it all blurred into nothingness. The only thing that existed in that moment was Lucy. The warmth of her embrace, the way she trembled slightly in my arms, the sound of her heartbeat against my chest, fast and unsteady, mirroring my own. I pulled back slightly, just enough to see her face. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but she was smiling. One of those rare, beautiful smiles that lit up her entire face. You're crying, I whispered, brushing a thumb over her cheek. She let out a breathless laugh. I know. I'm a mess. You're perfect, I said, my voice thick with emotion. She laughed again, shaking her head. I can't believe this is happening. Me neither, I admitted. Slowly, I reached for her hand and took it in mine. The ring I had just slipped on her finger sparkled under the cafe's soft, golden lights. It was still surreal, seeing it there, on her hand, knowing that she had accepted it, knowing that she had chosen me. You know, I said, my voice lighter now, I imagined this moment 1,000 times. But somehow, this is even better than I ever dreamed. She squeezed my hand, her eyes shining. I feel like I can finally breathe, Alex. Like I don't have to keep pretending anymore. My heart clenched at her words. You don't. You never have to pretend with me. She nodded, her gaze soft. I know. A soft melody played in the background, a love song that I had heard 100 times before, but had never truly listened to, until now. The moment felt frozen in time, like something straight out of a movie. Then, she did something unexpected. Come on, she said suddenly, tugging me toward the middle of the cafe. I raised an eyebrow. What are you doing? She grinned. Dancing. Dancing? Here? I glanced around at the other customers. Some had noticed us, smiling at our little moment, but no one seemed to mind. Why not? She asked, stepping closer. I chuckled. You're unbelievable. And you love me for it, she teased. Yeah, I murmured, pulling her closer. I do. We swayed slowly to the music, our hands clasped together, our foreheads touching. I had never been much of a dancer, but with Lucy, I didn't need to be. Everything with her felt natural, effortless. Happy Valentine's Day, Alex, she whispered. Happy Valentine's Day, Lucy. The rest of the night felt like a blur of warmth and laughter. We left the cafe hand in hand, stepping out into the crisp February night. Snowflakes drifted from the sky, landing softly in Lucy's hair. She looked up, smiling as she caught one on her glove. "It's beautiful," she murmured. I wasn't looking at the snow. I was looking at her. "Yeah," I said softly. "It really is." She turned back to me, and for a moment, we just stood there, staring at each other, as if neither of us could believe that this was real. "Alex," she whispered. "Yeah." "Promise me something. Anything." She hesitated, then said, "Promise me we'll never let fear stop us again. No more second-guessing. No more waiting." I reached for her hands, threading my fingers through hers. "I promise, Lucy. No more waiting." She smiled, and then, without another word, she leaned in and kissed me. It was soft at first, hesitant, like she was still testing the reality of it. But then, as if something clicked, she melted into me, and I pulled her closer, deepening the kiss. It wasn't just a kiss, it was a promise, a beginning. By the time we pulled away, we were both breathless, but neither of us moved. "I love you," I said, my voice hoarse but certain. Her eyes searched mine before she smiled. "I love you too." And just like that, everything changed. That Valentine's Day, under the glow of streetlights, surrounded by the gentle fall of snow and the distant sound of the city, Lucy and I found what we had been searching for all along. Each other. Did this story make your heart skip a beat? Love stories teach us that sometimes the best things in life happen when we least expect them. If you enjoyed this emotional journey, don't forget to like, share, and comment below. Tell us, have you ever had a moment of truth like Alex and Lucy? And of course, subscribe to English Tone for more beautiful and simple stories that make learning English easy and unforgettable. See you in the next story.